Welcome to your iconic image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Joe Road Warrior Animal Laurinaitis was half of arguably the greatest tag team in wrestling history. Together with Mike Hawk Hegstrand, they were the perfect mix of intimidation, artistry, and skill. They continue to be legendary, and you can search the internet and find countless hours of matches and interviews. But today, we're going to learn about Joe, the man behind the face paint, and what life with this icon was like. Please help me welcome Joe's other half, the love of his life, and my dear friend, Kim Laurinaitis.
Oh, thank you. That was so sweet.
So, anybody that saw you and Joe in your later years would not have guessed that you all didn't like each other much at first.
No, not at all. That was the going talk. Like once we finally reconnected, because we did not connect at the beginning at all. A lot of people knew that Mike and I, were much closer friends. He was like a brother to me for many, many years. And I always used to ask him what was wrong with his partner, like what crawled up his butt and died, basically, because he was always it came off as rude, but he really wasn't rude. He was more the business guy. He was always taking care of business. You know how it was in the back. When you have things to do, timelines to meet, deadlines, that's how he was. Me being 17, going back there and first getting backstage and around all those guys, you're looking going, God, he's rude, because him compared to Mike, the life of the party, it was two totally different people. And so that's what I was accustomed to, I guess. And then some of the other guys, you got Owen Hart, who was the ultimate prankster, and who never had an enemy at all, and who was always happy. And you had other people too that were kind of like that. And so coming across Joe, and his exterior, his face, everything kind of come off as very hard. You're like, oh my God, oh, sorry, I walked past you, some days. And one day he asked me, I was outside walking Davy's dog. I think we were in Pensacola or something. And he was like, what are you doing out here walking the dog? I'm like, because I was told to. I was just like scared to even answer him. And then I told Mike, I was like, oh my God, can you tell him not to be so mean to me? He wasn't mean. He just asked me a question, but I took it as being mean. And he has never forgot that. Like, he was like, I just thought, what mom would let their daughter come and be doing shows and vignettes and stuff like that here by themselves, and you're not even 18 and having to get your contract signed and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, so that's why you were rude to me? And so we talked about it later. He goes, no, I was just worried about you. I was protective of you in a sense, but you just didn't know it. I said, no, I thought you hated me. He goes, well, I wasn't a fan.
So when did that change? How did he become a fan?
When we reconnected, when I actually convinced Mike McGurk, our mutual friend, to, she had recently lost her husband a few months prior to us going to WrestleMania or WrestleCon, that event in 2012. And so I convinced her to go. She needed to get out of the house. We went. And when we went to Miami, Florida that year. Joe was there doing an appearance. And I actually ran into him unexpectedly, unknowingly. And like Mike was the one going, oh my God, Kim, look who it is. And I was like, oh, great. And here we go again. He's going to ask me, what am I doing out without my mom's permission or something? I'm having flashbacks. And he was like night and day. I'm telling you, like it was a totally different person is all I can tell you. And obviously a lot of things had happened in both of our lives by that time. We had both been, married. He was going through a divorce. I had already been divorced. I had terminal breast cancer. I was stage 4 breast cancer. And so I had already gone through 10 years of being by myself with my daughter. That was my life. I wasn't looking for anybody. I didn't want anybody. I was kind of like that, get back. And I was just there to visit friends, reconnect with people, and then help her through this. And then when we saw him, I mean, some of the other ladies we were with, they were like, oh, he's looking good and all this. And I'm like, oh, here's a drink. Are you thirsty? And Mike was even like, he looks really good. He's doing really well. After he did his appearance and stuff, where Mike was, we ended up being at the same spot. He ran into us afterwards and he was like, hey, y'all want to come over here and let's catch up? Okay, well, we went to go catch up. It's at the Duval Hotel lobby. It's like all open. Everything is all open. I don't get nervous. I don't do any of that because those guys are just like, they're just like anybody else. I know a lot of, you know how the fans are and everything. They're like all beside themselves. I look at them, they're just like anybody else. That's just their job.
Right.
I don't.
And also you had been around these guys since you were literally a girl.
Little. Since I used to live in Houston, go to Sam Houston Coliseum like every Friday night with my mom. And so that was from the time I was like 10 years old and going up. So none of these guys, like, it did not bother me at all. And so I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we'll go over here for a little bit. But I'm telling her, let's go out, walk to the beach. Let's go get you like out. I'm trying to think of her. And then what we were going to do, like afterwards, our dinner plans, kind of arranging that. Because I know when she and I get together, our plan schedule kind of goes off track. So we have to keep on track.
Yeah. And having been with both of you,
you know this personally. And so I'm just trying to kind of, okay. So she was worried about seeing Jake, Honky Tonk Man, some of the other ones. She hadn't seen them in many years. And so they were all excited about seeing her. And we went over there. We had our other friend Donna with us. And so she's kind of like our ringleader that keeps everyone in line.
She kind of kicks everybody back into play.
Yes, she does. She has her whip with her, like, get in there. And so we went over there, like, to where this whole open area was. And when we went in there, he was there and talking to McGurk and talking to some other people. And then he was like, hey, how have you been? I haven't seen you like forever. I was like, yeah, I've had a lot going on too. I was kind of playing it off because I'm thinking he's going to be a total jerk. So I'm trying not to like act nice in the least because I'm kind of keeping my guard up. But he's really being nice. So I'm thinking, God, don't be a butthole. So he's getting beers for other people and then he's handing stuff. And as he's doing this, I'm passing stuff down to people because we've got a big group. As he does this, I have this beer that he's handing me and he tells everybody this. She spilled this whole beer on my brand new Nike shoes. Well, anybody that knows Joe knows he loves his freaking shoes. He's worse than a girl. Like when it comes to his Nikes, any kind of athletic shoes, he loves them. And I'm like, oh my God, I just spilled this all over his shoes. And so I'm going, oh my God, I just spilled this all over his shoes. And he's like, oh, it's all right. It's all right. He'll get it up. I'm thinking, oh God, no, he's really gonna get mad. And so I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you need me to buy you a new pair of shoes? He's like, no, it's okay. It's good. It's good. So he's like cleaning all this up. We finally go and sit down. And I think Diana Hart, some other people were there that we hadn't seen. And we just all kind of started chit-chatting and catching up. He was very, very kind and open. I don't think I've ever seen the man smile until that day. And I was like, who is this person? Well, then we started talking about like dinner. I told you we were supposed to have dinner plans. He was like all about it. Well, why don't we all go? Why don't we all go in this big group? I'm looking at Mike going, what the heck is going on? So we made plans to go down the street to this restaurant. He organized it. He took control of everything. I was like, okay. So we all go down here to this restaurant. As we're sitting around this huge table, I mean, there's probably at least, I don't know, 12 of us, 10, 12 of us around this table. Now, granted, McGurk has been drinking wine all during the day. So have I. So we're very happy. And we're sitting around this table. He's sitting clear across the table from me. He's not sitting beside me. McGurk is sitting beside me. I don't even know who's sitting on the other side of me. And then I know Diana Hart is one over because we're chatting. And we have this great dinner and everything. But as we're sitting at this table, my phone goes off. And I'm thinking, who is calling? Nobody's calling me. I'm here in Miami. Everybody that I'm here with is right here at this table. So I'm looking around, kind of looking, look at my phone, and I have this message on my phone, and I have no idea who this number is. And it says, "I love you." And I'm going, McGurk, you little drunk. Where's your phone? Quit texting me from unknown numbers. And she's laughing hysterically. And she's like, "I do love you." And she's going along with it. So the whole time I'm thinking it's her. And she's come up with some kind of way to text me from an unknown number. And I'm like, "Stop texting me from unknown numbers. That's stupid." And I'm just going back and forth. He's watching the whole time. And it's him that had sent that message. No idea how he got my phone number. I didn't give it to him. He never asked me for it. And I'm thinking, okay, this is just awkward. So I'm helping her up. We go back like to the beachfront by the Duval Hotel. We were supposed to be going to an event that she did not want to go to. We kind of got in trouble by our ringleader that night because we were supposed to have been going to WrestleMania. She didn't want to go. She just wanted to sit out on the beach, watch the water, watch the stars and everything, just talk about everything. Joe stepped in and Joe was like, "I got these girls. You go to the event. I'm going to stay here with them. They're going to be safe. They'll be fine. Don't worry about it." Well, in the meantime, while they're having a conversation, McGurk and I are having our own reality show out on the beach. I mean, like we're, I don't know, doing sand angels. We're running and jumping. And then Mike takes a nosedive into the sand a couple times. We get her up. And I mean, it was just the first time I had seen her happy in the least, being herself. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about the old days, like how things were when you were there, when Mike was there, everything. And it was just like a happy feeling being able to reconnect. And he came in and he sat down and he started sharing some stuff that he had been through, what he was going through. And then when he found out that I had been sick, he was like, "Wait, what? You?" I was like, "Yeah, just don't even." I'd been through a terrible divorce, like 8 years prior to. And he was like, "I had no idea." I said, "It's okay. I don't want sympathy." And he goes, "Oh, what are you turning into me now?" Like this instant. It was like the roles had reversed. And so we started talking. Well, Mike falls asleep out here. Like she's like taking a sitting out here. He and I end up talking for hours. And that's where it all started. Like we just reconnected from that night on. And after that, like he got us a ride back to our hotel because we were actually staying over where his brother was staying. And he had said, "If you don't want to go back over there, we don't have to." Stop. This is Joe's dog. Like that is like over here barking. But oh my God, hold on a second. Stop. Go over here. Come here. Stop. Go. There you go. Okay. He's very needy. He's very needy like Joe. But it was like, he gave us the option, like if you don't want to go back over there, you don't have to. But I was like, no, we need to. And so he sent us back. He had us a driver and everything. He called to make sure we got back there okay. Ever since that night, he called me every single day for the rest of his life. There was not one day that he did not call. And then he asked me, I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, he goes, "I don't know what you did to me, but this is not me. I don't normally do this. I don't act like this. Did you put some in my drink?" I was like, no. I was the one that was more standoffish because I was like, I don't really want somebody like calling me every day. This is like too much for me. I was very guarded because of my past. And I told him that. And I said, I know how wrestlers are anyways. I don't want, me, I didn't want to be with a wrestler. I didn't want to marry a wrestler. That was my whole thing. And he even brought that up. He said, "Yeah, he used to always say, I'll never marry a wrestler." Blah, blah, blah. I said, "I won't." And we laughed about it. And then later on, he was like, "I don't know like what has happened, but I enjoy talking to you. I just want to keep talking to you. Is that okay?" He was very respectful. And ever since then, like I said, he continued to call every day. We talked every day for hours. And then he was like, he had another business in Africa. So he was getting ready to go to Africa. And then he said, before I go to Africa, can I fly you to St. Louis just to see me before I go? I'd just like to take you out to dinner or whatever, or I'll fly to Texas, whichever one. And he flew me to St. Louis. And then that's when I met his daughter, my daughter, and his grandson. And I was just like, I instantly connected with the baby. Like Jacob is my life there too. So it was so like easy. Like it was just like one of those things that I had never had before, ever. There was no pressure. There was no like, oh, I'm going on a date or anything like that. It was just relaxed.
Well, I know as somebody who knew you both before you were together, and then also watching you together, what I used to love is I could watch him go from this big, burly, tough guy to where he would look at you and melt. And it was that I used to love to watch.
Yes. Yes. There were so many people that used to say that, can you go look at him? And I'd be like, what are you talking about? But we had a look that would go. And he used to tell me all the time, he said, because we shared a lot of stuff over the period of years, which I do, all of his past and everything. Everybody has a past. But I learned so much about him and his upbringing, and I fell in love with his dad. Oh my gosh, I love his dad. I was like, if I was younger, I'm sorry, I would trade you in for your dad, because your dad is just my heart. Like, I loved him so much. But you learn, a lot of people just see like what's on the face value, like what they do. Once you get to know the person, Joe lived a lot like his character in some ways. That was very hard. That was very tough. And you hear some of the stories and things that they did, and you're going, oh my God, I don't know. Like, that's not me. I'm a little country girl like over here. I've never dealt with anything like that. But he goes, you used to go and take care of Hawk. You and McGurk would go and save him, like wherever he was, and get him to the airport. What do you mean? And I'd be like, oh, well, that was back when I was stupid and young. Now I'm older and have a daughter. I learned from my mistakes. And he was like, okay. But you'd see his toughness, like kind of, it had changed a lot. He had softened up a lot. But that's what he used to always say, is that you're peeling my layers. It's like an onion. He would say, those layers are just like peeling off. But I don't want to be, I'm not soft. I said, no one ever said you're soft. And he said, but you're the same way. But I never realized it, that I had built up such these guarded walls. And he said, I don't feel like I can ever get to you, because you've got this hard exterior that I can't ever get to that heart that like I knew you used to have, because you're like so guarded. You're like one of the guys. I was like, oh my God.
Well, both of you, I have to say this, both of you were like Tootsie Pops. You had this hard exterior shell, but this little soft middle.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of getting to it.
Exactly.
And so what do you think was the biggest misconception about Joe?
That he was just this huge, like this burly, mean guy. Like, he was the biggest, soft-hearted, selfless, caring person I have ever known in my life. Ever. I don't think I've ever seen a man so caring and so giving as anybody, as Joe, like ever. Some people would never believe that he cried. I have seen that man cry more times than anybody in my family. That showed me that he had heart. That doesn't mean that he is soft. That doesn't mean that he doesn't care. He had never missed an appearance at all until I got sick and was in the hospital, and I was hospitalized for 70 days. And he left that appearance and he came right back. And I was like, oh my God, he didn't have to leave, because I know how important that is to them. No, he always put family first, whether it's his kids, his grandkids, anybody like that always came first. And he lived by what he believed. He's not one of those that always just said certain things and just said it like for face value. No, he did exactly what he said.
What's your favorite memory of Joe?
Oh gosh.
And I know there's probably a bunch, so just give me one.
There's a bunch. The day that I reconnected with him in Miami, because I'll never forget, like, sitting out there talking to him for all those hours. Because he used to always tell guys, oh yeah, that night, like, we did the backstroke on the beach. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it just sounds good. I'm like, that sounds so bad. But just that, being able to connect with someone like that just by talking to him, he's not trying to take me to his room. He's not trying to do anything inappropriate. You just had a connection with somebody just by being yourself. That lasted. And then just the way he looked at me, he could look at me a certain way, like with his eyes, and I like became putty. It was like, God, I used to just tell him, don't look at me like that. And then he would purposely do it. And I'd be like, he wants something. I don't know what he wants, but he's trying to get to something. But the other time is just probably the day I would have never I never in a million years would have thought that he would convince me, like when we got married, because we were going to get married and have like a regular wedding and everything. And he's just like, when he asked me to marry him, that was bittersweet, because he had been carrying around this ring for 2 weeks, and we had planned, like, the girls and him had planned this engagement party. Joe could never keep a secret at all. Never. He carried this ring and he could not take it anymore. And we were driving in Defiance when we lived in Defiance, Missouri. We were passing my daughter's high school. The high school was on the left. A cemetery was on the right. He pulls over on the side of the road and I'm going, what are you doing? And he's like, I can't do it anymore. I can't. And I'm like, what can't you do? And I'm thinking something's wrong. There's some appearance has gone wrong. He's about to call somebody, yell and scream at him. Who knows? And he pulls out and I see he's reaching in his pocket. And I'm thinking, oh, no, you're not. Because the girls had already let me in on a secret. So I kind of knew a little bit. I didn't know all the details. And I'm thinking, I said, if you're about to do what I think you're going to do, stop right now. Stop. And he goes, Kim, I can't. And he's literally starting to cry. And I'm looking at him going, I'm telling you now I'm getting mad. I'm telling you, if you're about to do it, stop. And he said, I can't carry it anymore. I'm sorry. And he's apologizing as he's pulling out this ring out of his pocket. And he said, Kim, I've carried this for 2 weeks in my pocket and I cannot carry it any longer. That's why I had to pull over on the side of the road. I have to put this on your hand. I have to ask you to marry me, like, right now. I cannot wait anymore. And I'm just looking at him like, I'm looking and I said, do you see where we are? Do you see where we are? And he goes, what, where are we at? And I'm like, there's a cemetery right there. And there's a high school right there. And he goes, well, people were dying to see me propose to you. And I'm like, stop with the pun jokes. Stop. He was like the king of pun jokes. But I will never forget that moment. And as mad as I was that moment, I look back at it and it's those little things that made him him. That was our moment. I didn't need any big, elaborate engagement party. I just needed him. That's all. That's all it came down to. Who cares about a big party? It's between two people anyways. So who cares? So we could look back and laugh at that every year. When something came up, something would trigger, he would bring that up. Somebody would say something. And so it was always a good laugh. Later on, after I got over those first few days, it became like a memory that we always looked back on and laughed at.
Yeah.
So
what does life look like for you now without him?
That's a hard question. That's a really hard question. These past 2 years have been the toughest years out of my entire life, I would say, versus cancer, both bouts of cancer, the staph infection, everything like in the spot, nothing compared to this. I don't know. It's like you want to give someone your entire heart. You want to love them the way that they love you too. And like when you find that person, you know, and you don't want to hold back in fear of, oh, what if? Because then you don't get that reciprocated, I don't think, back. And so we finally found that, and we were finally able to open up. And I finally wasn't afraid about being sick or what if this happened or what if that happened. I finally had my person that had my back, like that was my person. And so now I don't have that person. And I'm like literally to this day, like yesterday was another bad day. And I have good days and bad days. I have a little heart that has his ashes in it that I have right by my bed. I have a big urn that's right here in my living room. I wear him in a necklace with me. He's with me all the time. I don't know. It is definitely different. I'm much better now than I was a year ago. I've gone through a lot of counseling. I still go through counseling. It's like the stages of grief. Like when you go through, the first year, I probably didn't really know which end was up. Then I went through this anger phase, but I turned the anger into where I've been working out. I've been boxing. I've been dancing again. I've been doing some other things to try and help me physically. But I talk to him all the time because down here where I am, I don't have anybody. Mm-hmm. Lindsay moved out a few months ago. And so that empty nest syndrome and then not having anyone here kind of like sealed the whole thing, like where, oh my God, you are really by yourself. Where I think along the past year, I've kind of like been able to work nonstop and block some of that out to where I don't have to deal with, which I've always done. Whether I've been sick, I can work and like focus on something else than having to deal with that. I think it's a mind over matter type thing. But now when you come home, there's no way that you can fight it because like, okay, you're coming home and he's not going to be here. He doesn't have dinner ready like he used to love to do, or vice versa. Like having things, it was just like it was a balance. We just had that balance. And now it's just like, you realize there's so many things that he did. I tell him every day, like, I have no way to tell you how much I appreciated you. I hope you know. I can only hope and pray you know. Because it's a lot. It is a lot. And I spend all my extra time trying to do contracts and stuff like that for action figures, for appearances, for other things.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question was, what would you like to see happen with Joe's legacy? Because I know you are doing a lot of things to try and keep that alive and keep going. So talk to us a little more about that.
I want, because Joe and Mike, they own their own likeness for their characters, where a lot of other people, they don't. And that's a perk for them. But it's definitely been a struggle the past couple of years with the legality of all of this. Even though we do, there's an agency that can also go out and represent you. I chose not to do that because I know what Joe would want. Joe likes to work with the individuals themselves. He's built relationships with them, and I would want to do whatever Joe would want to do. I don't want to go back and change anything. I'm not a money person that says, oh, hey, make me the most money I'll live under a bridge before I go and do that and sell him out. That's just who I am. I want to do whatever he would have done or wanted to do. And he built relationships with some of these people that want to go and do a certain type of action figure, do a certain type of whatever they're going to make for him. Finally, it's taken a long time because you have to get the other side to sign off on it as well. It's weird because you're kind of splitting up a tag team, but we're doing it. We're finally on the same page. There's been a lot of hardship, though, along this way. And even though you want to create I'm not an action figure person. I don't know all of these different action figures. It's almost like a Barbie doll. Like, oh, you have like Polly Pocket, you have Barbie, you have this and that. You have all these different types of action figures. And some of these people get upset because you sign a contract with this person. They don't want you to sign a contract with this person to make another one. I'm all about make as many action figures as you can for them because no one has made them in so many years and people want them. That's my whole thing is just keep their faces out there and keep them relevant. Keep making new shirts, keep making new slam buddies or whatever. Keep, and we've also created the LOD experience where last year we did it. We kind of tested it out where you can go. We have like a green screen behind us. I bring their pads, the pads that they actually wore. They can put them on. People come in, they can wear the belts, they can wear the Hall of Fame rings, whatever they choose. And then we put digital face paint, their actual digital face paint on them. So it looks like they're like all suited up, just like Hawk and Animal. And then we have these two big standees. So even though they're not there in the flesh, they have the big standees next to them. And then they're dressed and look just like them. So we're doing that so then they can take photos like that at some of these conventions or some of the, different places have called me about coming in and setting that up and letting them, have the ability to do that.
And is there any place that people can go, a website or anything that will give them where you're going to be with these types of things?
I have my Facebook, but through the Asylum website too, they also have a site where for this LOD experience that we're just now getting set up on. So that will have wherever that's going to be and then anything pertaining to that. But for right now, I'm primarily on Facebook. I do have an Instagram. I'm getting better at Instagram just with my name, and I have a Snapchat. So I'm getting a little bit more.
We're going to pull Kim right into the social media world.
I'm going to get in there one way or another. I may have to ask a few questions between you and Lindsay, like, help, like, what am I doing? I sent a few messages by accident, like I'm thinking I'm chatting. And then one went out like to a whole group or whatever. And I'm going, wait, why are all these people calling me and asking me, what does this mean? And I'm going, I didn't send that to you. I'm like, oh yeah, you did. You sent it to everybody. I'm going, oh, I need to take a lesson or something before I send something inappropriate. Oh no. I could just imagine Joe. Joe was not tech savvy. I think I started following his footsteps there at the end, like, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't have my grandkids here close by to help me either. So
love it. But is that site just theasylum.com?
It is.
Okay.
Like if you go on theasylum.com, they have all of the information like on the LOD.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, Kim, what is the one thing that you want people to remember about Joe?
Oh, just that, I know that there's always this discussion that comes up about how he wasn't the fun one. He wasn't the life of the party one. No, he may not have been, but you know what? Like when you get to know him, he was the funniest person he made me laugh till I hurt myself. Like, I wish you could see some of the videos even that Lindsay still has that we go back and watch. Like I literally was laughing till I couldn't breathe. And it was just he and I like bantering back and forth. And he was so witty, so sarcastic, funny. They broke the mold when they made him. I'm just telling you that right now. But to be that tough, like where he took no crap. Now, let me make sure that's clear. He would stand up for whatever he believed, especially politics. I know people still post videos from him with the Trump thing, but he's very passionate about whatever he believed in, whatever he loved. But he's also a very soft-hearted, selfless, loving person. Like he would give you the shirt off his back for anybody that needed anything. He was also, a lot of people had the impression that he was this narcissistic, all about him. That is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
Most selfless, caring guy, just like in the wrestling business. He was more wanting to coach and bring up the upcoming talent, like there at the end, like getting involved with some of the indie companies and push this new talent. And he's like, these guys need to know when to step away and give the light to these new guys. And you develop them and you mold them and you help them, you know, guide them to push them. And I used to sit in awe and just watch him and listen to him talk. I'm not a wrestler. And I'm sitting there listening to him and I'm like, oh my God, he's like speaking to my spirit or my heart or something, because I told him, I said, that is what you were brought here to do. It's like coach or motivational speak. You have a gift. You truly have a gift. And he did. And anyone that really got to know him or who he would take the time to speak with always got something out of it. And that's what so many people would write me and say, he's so sweet. He's so nice. And he talked to me, or he talked to my kids or my daughter or whatever, and would tell me what all he said. That's just him. And I wish everybody had an opportunity to have seen that side of him instead of just seeing this monster like go to the ring and like just tear up some butt up there, because super smart too, super smart business guy as well. I mean, he was a total package.
Love that. And with that, Kim, I just have 4 final questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
First one, what's the best piece of advice you were ever given? And don't tell me don't marry a wrestler.
Shoot. Probably the best piece of advice I was given is probably pay attention to the little things in life. It's all about the little things. It's not the big things. It's just like Christmas time is coming. You know, everybody wants to talk about like, oh, what's the big thing that I want for Christmas? Or especially this generation has just gotten so out of hand with what all we buy and everything. It's not about that. It's these little things. When you are gone, none of that crap matters. None of it matters. The one thing that you can't buy is time. The one thing I've learned through all of this the past 2 years, it's all about time. It's all about putting your phone down. That last day that Joe and I were together, that was the one deal on our anniversary. Put your phone down. We both had it turned off and we enjoyed that day. That's the one thing that I'm eternally grateful for, was because we were both in the moment, enjoying everything about that day. If more people did that, they would have more treasured moments or memories. Pick up that camera, pick up that phone to take pictures, not of yourself, but of whatever you're doing, like with the people you're with. So you can look back on them and have those moments to treasure.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just the little things. And it may be you sitting inside the house. I look at pictures of Joe all the time, sitting on that couch, being silly, or little videos that we've taken, little snippets. It's just those little things. It's nothing big, but those things are what get me through each day.
Share with us one thing on your bucket list.
There's 2.
Okay.
One is I want to go back. We went to Scotland and we actually were supposed to be in Ireland on our anniversary when he passed. And because of COVID, we were not there. So I want to go back to Ireland. He had it all scheduled out, my heritage, my ancestry, and all of that. We did all the research and he had it all laid out to go back there and research all of that stuff. I want to go back there because I know that that was our plan. It may be a little bit more difficult for me than what I think, but I would still like to try and do that.
Mm-hmm.
My other one is kind of superficial, but anyone that knows me knows what a big, huge Chiefs fan I am. And so like the last time I was at Arrowhead Stadium, James had started playing for the Saints. So I had to cheer for the Saints, of course. That was a family thing. I couldn't cheer for the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are coming to Houston like in December. So I get to go see them here. But I want to go back to Arrowhead and I want to go see a Chiefs game. But I need to actually meet Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Even Juju maybe. But Patrick Mahomes is a Texas guy, just so you know. Like he's from White House. So it's like all connected kind of somehow. You know my love for football. Like that that's another thing that Joe and I, like, we used to wheel and deal, like who had what on what fantasy league too. So that's my other one.
Okay, I know you're working on, action figures for Joe, but when the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
Well, one given is loop earrings. The hoops have to be there. They have to have some Lolita hoops. The second thing would probably be either a camera or a phone. One of the two. Either one that you could snap pictures with to be able to go back and look at whatever memories you have. I have to have that accessibility. And
once again, tell us if people want to find you, if they want to buy merchandise, if they want to, be a part of that experience, tell them again how to find you, how to find all that information.
I'm on Facebook. It's under my name, Kim Laurinaitis. I do have an Instagram. I'm trying to get better on Instagram. It's under my name, Kim Laurinaitis, as well. But a lot of Joe's merchandise and stuff is on prowrestlingtees.com. They're always coming out with new stuff. They also have a new deal that is a Powerbomb pizza, which you can go to any town. So if you go to a wrestling event and you are there for whatever, if it's pay-per-view or a local show, you say, oh, hey, I need some food, but I don't know what to get. What's local? You can go online to powerbombpizza.com. It will tell you what pizza places are affiliated with this, and you can order. It is an actual wrestling menu with wrestling themed pizzas, nachos, appetizers, whatever, through this Powerbomb pizza. And so they have just now come out with this. It's affiliated with Pro Wrestling Tees as well. Brian Barkin is a genius. So that's another thing. There's also Dean in the UK. They have a Wrestle merch. Wrestle merch is out of the UK, but he has some phenomenal stuff like online. They have beanies, they have caps, they have some jackets, they have stuff that Pro Wrestling Tees does not have. So that's another one as well.
Love it. Thank you so very much for being here, Kim, and sharing memories about Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.